Whatever Williams is paying Alex Albon this year, and it's probably just a few $1,000,000, is one of the best investments it has made, given his performances transformed its 2023 season. Whether it can keep hold of this valuable asset when his contract ends in 2024 will be a big test of the team's ambitions. The 27-year-old single-handedly took Williams to 7th place in the Constructors' Championship, delivering premium performance for a bargain bin price. That's important because championship position dictates a team's prize money, and although the exact figures won't be definitive until F1's 2023 revenues are finalised, we know that every position in the Constructors' Championship is worth around $10 million, give or take. Most would have predicted Williams would finish last for a second consecutive year. That means Albon's contribution is worth in the neighbourhood of $30 million. So he's worth his weight in gold to Williams. Actually, at current prices, more than 6 times his weight in gold. Given what he's paid, that's a return in the region of 1,000%. He scored 27 of Williams' 28 points and was the strongest driver across the season of those in the 14 group at the back battling for 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th places. In fact, he was one of the standout performers of the season across the whole grid, earning 6th place in the race's 2023 F1 driver rankings. Albon isn't one to shout about his excellence from the rooftops, but he is justifiably delighted with his season. After the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, I asked him how big an achievement it was for him personally that he took Williams to 7th, and he described his season as very strong. And with good cause, because racking up 27 points in the Williams was not an easy task. The statistics prove how valuable Albon was. He scored in 7 Grand Prix, with an additional 2 points for 7th in the Qatar Sprint. That made him comfortably the heaviest scorer in the 14 group at the back, bagging 10 points more than next best Yuki Tsunoda. Given AlphaTauri in particular made prodigious progress in terms of development, notably with its Singapore Grand Prix upgrade and the new floor in Abu Dhabi that allowed Tsunoda to qualify 6th and finish 8th, Williams became less competitive in the closing stages of the season. That meant there was ample opportunity for AlphaTauri to have overhauled Williams, while had Alfa Romeo been more consistent and made the most of its opportunities, it could easily have scored more heavily. As for Haas, while its car struggled on race day, the single lap pace was strong enough for it to qualify in the top 10 regularly. Yet Williams was able to beat all of these teams. And that was primarily thanks to Albon. The Williams FW45 was the most successful car the team has produced in the last 6 seasons. During that period it finished last in the standings 4 times. But that upturn in form doesn't mean that the FW45 was a brilliant car. On average it was 8th fastest in dry conditions across the season. That meant it was hard work to drag it into the points. Even though Albon got it into Q3 7 times, it was far from an easy car. And once in a points position, it often required staunch defence to stay there. As Albon says, most of my races haven't been simple. We've been fighting the whole time. For an example of that, just look at Albon's performance in the Canadian Grand Prix where he finished 7th. There he started 9th and drove a precise race on an offset strategy. After stopping on the 12th lap under the safety car, he stayed out and had to put in a defensive masterclass to keep first George Russell and later Esteban Ocon at bay. Both were clearly faster, but as Williams' head of vehicle performance Dave Robson points out, Albon's grasp of how to drive to play to the car's strengths was essential in Canada and other races. Despite it being mentally tough to do, Robson stresses Albon's understanding in this regard is a crucial strength. And that understanding extended to the setup approach, which Albon has explained the team often tailored to where it needed to be strong to hold position, i.e. on the long straights and the corners preceding them, even at the expense of overall lap time. And all of that in an extremely peaky, tricky to drive car that Albon describes as having a big personality. To add to that, the team trackside has also done a good job in extracting the most from the car and taking the strategic opportunities presented. And as Albon says, while Williams' form appears to have been up and down, that reflects the weakness of the car rather than the way the team was performing. The car worked well at low downforce tracks but less well at high downforce ones. It was good in low temperatures but struggled in hot temperatures and was very wind sensitive. That meant that often getting results out of the Williams was akin to threading the eye of a needle. The achievement of finishing 7th in the Constructors' Championship is all the more remarkable given Williams biased its development effort towards 2024. That's a logical consequence of the situation the team was in this year, having made major changes, with team principal Jost Capito, technical director FX de Maison and aerohead David Wheater leaving at the end of 2022. As Capito pointed out, the car that finished 10th in Bahrain was therefore the product of that regime. With Williams undergoing major changes under new team principal James Vowles, it was logical to focus a little more effort on the 24 car, but it also managed to extract good performance from the 23 machine, perhaps to its own surprise. As Albon put it, we've sacrificed a lot this year to focus on next year's car. This allowed Williams to do what he called the bare minimum to take 7th place. Williams introduced its one major upgrade for the season in Canada. The bodywork changes included the engine cover, sidepod inlet and halo, as well as the floor geometry, including the forward fences. The diffuser profile was also new, and there were changes to the rear suspension that also influenced rear brake duct winglet and rear wing design changes. This was a key package given prior to that weekend, Williams had only scored 1 point, albeit a run that included Albon's costly crash while running 6th in Melbourne. It's also significant because, as Robson explains, the concept change was the product of a different way of working in the wind tunnel. The hope is that improved way of working, as well as the arrival of new recruits such as Chief Technical Officer Pat Fry at the start of November, will yield improved performance next year. Owners Doralton Capital have been putting money into the team since buying it in 2020, and there will be extra spending as a result of the CapEx regulations being changed to allow an extra $20 million to be spent from next year. And if that translates to a quicker car, Albon will be the one to get the most out of it. Williams' success is a reward for picking Albon up off the scrap heap in the first place, which means it's only right it should benefit from what was a gamble given his struggles with Red Bull in 2020. He spent 2021 on the sidelines, having been relegated to reserve driver by Red Bull, with Williams then signing him on a 3-year deal that expires at the end of next season. But the circumstances of his signing as a Red Bull contracted driver without a race drive means it stands to reason that he was also a bargain. While he parted ways with Red Bull during this deal, Williams will still be paying for a cut price, low demand driver, but one who is performing at a very high level. What's more, he's attracting interest from some serious rivals for a move in the future. That's not just teams like Sauber, which is searching for a stronger driver lineup as it evolves into Audi's works operation, but also some big names nearer the front of the grid. That means that while Williams will be keen to retain Albon from 2025 onwards, he won't come at anything like the bargain price that he was for 2022, and it will face competition for his services in what is sure to be a frenzied driver market. Albon is in the thick of Williams' rebuilding process, so will be well placed to judge how well it's going. But by any estimate, it's going to be a few more years before it has any chance of re-emerging as a race winner. He owes Williams a lot given the team resurrected his F1 career, but he's repaid that debt many times over with his performances in 2022 and, in particular, 2023. Therefore, Williams will surely need to give him a significant pay hike to have any chance of hanging on to him. That's why whether Williams can keep hold of a driver it can build for the long term around is such a tough test of its credentials.